record it, and so you can go back and we'll send it out to everybody. That way, if you think you heard something wrong, or if I screw it up, we'll all have proof, and then we can come back and fix it. But the whole purpose of this is, one, I want to get everybody together and I want to have a discussion about several things. Number one, and this whole thing is everybody take care of yourself. And that means get your rest, eat right, and get some physical activity, go for a walk, whatever, because this is a stressful thing. And we all take stress differently. Yesterday, I went for a 3-mile walk, and it was probably the best thing I did to clear my head, and just took my time. But we have to take care of ourselves. And the reason that we want to do it is everything that you do reflects you. So whoever's got the noise, if you'd mute. But everything reflects you. So if you are afraid or you're panicked, everybody sees it. Your client sees it. Other agents see it. And so we don't want to be in that panic situation. So whatever you're feeling, you're going to reflect it. So we have to really watch what goes in our heads, because I think that's the big thing. I think the other thing we have to realize, this is a short-term situation. This is not something that's permanent. And be really careful, and these are talking points. Don't let people make permanent decisions based on a temporary situation, because they're going to do it. And we need to be the objective ones that don't allow that. And we need to behave the same way ourselves. And so on this whole process, let's behave that way. What are some things that we can do to show that we're not doing something because of a temporary situation? Anybody? Quit prospecting. That's something that's you do over this situation. Don't. You need to call everybody you know and ask them, how are you? Is there anything I can do to help you? Don't push for a listing or a buyer's contract. Be a human being, build a relationship. That's what this is for right now. It's a time for you to make a difference in people's lives and to be different. So I think that's really important. Steve Brown, tell your story from church yesterday with a ship.
Yeah, well, we went to church yesterday and it felt really good. And our preacher was just preaching over storms and things. And he was just talking about a ship, that the people on a ship, when it comes time for a bad storm, they don't anchor and stay anchored, because the storm will rip them apart. So he said they pick up the anchor and they ride the storm and they ride it out. So basically, don't drop anchor and just set through the storm, and you got to keep going forward.
And I think that's a great analogy, and that's what we need to do. This thing will be choppy water, and it changes every day. And I've done some Facebook Live, and I've been sending videos to you guys, and it's amazing to me. I send you an email, and I bet you that the first 2 I sent, only half of you even opened them. And it was all news about COVID-19. And I'm giving you things you can do and where we're at right now. And that's really important. I think as we go through this, the one thing that comes to my mind is we all have to be adaptable. And the one constant in life is always change, but right now we're going to get change that we really weren't ready for, and we're going to be forced to get ready. And I think a lot of times we all needed to take that next step in our business, because right now, one of the things that you cannot do is hold an open house. That's off the table. You can't do it. So how are we going to hold open houses?
CJ, you have your grandfather on the outside. No. What made you join us?
Anybody have any ideas? Anybody heard of a virtual open house?
Right, or just use your phone like you do before an open house. Just walk through it and do the same thing you normally do when you get there 20 minutes beforehand, and just do that.
Exactly, and you can do some fun things. Make it fun. I've been preaching video for a long time. This is our chance to really get in the game with video. I've got a client friend of mine that I coach, and he gave me his open house idea, and it was fantastic. He hid a 4-leaf clover in the house, And in the video, you can see it, but you got to look really, really hard. And he had a contest to see who could find what he hid in the house that didn't belong there. And then he had a drawing for it. And he had so many views on that open house, it blew him away. Make it fun. Hide something, do something silly, a piece of candy, something that doesn't belong in the house. And when you're doing the video, they'll see it. Make them look for it. But think outside the box. Because we need to do everything virtual. We need to have virtual open houses. We need to do video. You can have Zoom meetings. So you can go to zoom.us. Anybody can do this. And if you have a meeting under 40 minutes, it's free. So you can do this, invite your client, and you and your client would be the only two on the screen, or their whole family or whatever. FaceTime, Google Hangouts, all the ways that we can communicate without being in person. We need to adapt to those things. This is the wave of the future anyway. Now we're forced to do it. So the first ones to adapt and to implement are going to be the agents that are going to succeed and do well no matter what happens. That needs to be us. You're going to see us in the office make a couple changes, and this goes with being adaptable. We're going to force this change. Is one, we're going to start doing our meetings by Zoom. So tomorrow's training on listing conversion is going to be done on Zoom. You'll get an invitation. I didn't want to confuse you and send another one. You'll get an invitation afterwards for tomorrow's 9:30 training. We're going to we're not going to completely get rid of them, but we are going to remove desk phones. We got to get quicker. We got to go straight to this because all of the coaches are telling us when a listing call comes to the office, desk phone goes to your desk phone, goes to your cell phone, that Zillow lead just hung up and went to somebody else. So it's speed. So we're going to remove desk phones. We're going to adapt to where this thing is going and not be behind this curve. Other ways, anybody else have ideas about being adaptable? What do we need to do that can help us? Because I'm not a techie. Unmute and speak.
Hey, David.
Yeah, who is it?
This is Mark calling about it.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, so I actually did an open house over the weekend before the news changed, and I had some virtual tours come through, and I could hear the buyers on the phone, and they just couldn't figure out the layout of the home. So I think what I'm going to start doing is with the lack of being able to do open houses, I'm going to do more Matterports. I'm going to start putting more. I'm going to try to figure out how to put more layouts of the home so people can kind of see it as the agents are walking through.
Yeah, I like that. That's a really good idea, Matterport. Anybody else have any good ideas?
Hey, David, along the same line as far as the video, as far as working with buyers, and I've got some right now that are remote and some that just can't get out, is going ahead and doing a virtual tour of the homes that they're interested in and letting them see it that way too, just to
Absolutely.
get exposure.
What happens if you can't even get in the house? What are you going to do? Have your client do the video.
Exactly.
We got to look for ways to do things, not how not to do them or to let those be excuses. So these are just ways that we're going to have to do it. I mean, you could even have your client turn his phone on and walk through, and you can watch it. Or maybe you've got the client with you, or maybe you can put all three of you on a Zoom meeting, and all of you can be on there. There's so many ways to do it. I can't hear you. Somebody said something, but I couldn't hear them. You know, I think that when you're going through and doing your listing, if you can get in the house, maybe Shelby put it on there. If you don't have your chat box open, you guys can see the chat in there. A simple floor plan, when you take your measurements, would be really good too, where they can kind of see the layout of what it looks like. But we're going to have to change to stay with this thing as it goes. The next thing I think is important is that we nurture everybody. Call everyone you know, do those things I said, ask them, is there anything you can do to help? I think it's important that we do that. And I think the other thing as we go through this is we have to attach ourselves to the process and don't attach yourself to the outcome. And we preach this about when you're doing lead gen, do lead gen, and it's attached to the process, not the outcome, because all the relationship things that you're going to do right now will pay off. And it may be 30 days or 60 days before some people are comfortable, but it's about building that. Stay with it, stay with it, stay with it, and be all about them. So then what kind of talking points, and I'll let some other people go first. What do you say to your buyers right now if you're talking to somebody and they're going to ask us, should I quit my search? What do I do? What do you
Absolutely
say?
not. You tell them no.
Why not?
Because they're going to be the small amount of individuals that decide to not be scared of the coronavirus, and they have less competition on the bids and the houses that they want.
Very good. What else?
Absolutely.
I also,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Brittany.
well, my main thing is I always like to share that I'm making sure that I'm taking the necessary precautions whenever going and showing my clients. So I'm letting them know I have the supplies on hand, as well as, we do the nice subtle reminders. Don't touch your face. Don't touch that surface. You can look without touching. Going back to our childhood.
So a tip right there for your sellers, have them leave all their closet doors and leave everything open so nobody has to touch the handles. Open the pantries, open every closet that you can so that there's less touch in the house. What else? We're still on buyers. What would you tell your buyer?
Interest rates dipped low again today to 2.8. I had a client locking at 2.8. So like literally under 3% for certain loans. I mean, and that's even whenever I refinanced in January, it's 3.5%. So that's a very, very big deal whenever the rates are at that point. But I think going with what you're saying, a big thing is just truly this is an opportunity to actually be there for your client. And if they don't feel comfortable, we need to support that, because I mean, you just have to be there for them 100%. On the sell side, I had a client who's asking me, is it a good time still? And I believe it still is a good time. I mean, houses are still having a ton of action, ton of offers. So, I mean, I really still feel like it's a great time to sell your house. But I just really feel like you need to listen to your client a lot more than talk, and create talking points and listen.
So to piggyback on what Shane just said, I would say seek first to understand your client. Really work at understanding what your client is saying. And in that conversation, I think you have to go deeper. If I just say, hey, I want to cancel my listing, what do you say?
Can you share with me why?
That's a good reason. Can you share with me why? Because what you want to do is go deeper. Tell me more. Has something changed? Has your plans changed? What else would you ask them? Because we've got to get past the surface level and be objective with them and help them get to what that really why they're canceling. Most of them are canceling because of the news media and the paranoia that's going around with this, not because they're making a good objective decision. Now, if they got laid off at work, that's a whole different conversation, but we need to get there so we can understand that and we can help them, because we may want to help them get there.
David, Brian Buffini had a really good podcast. I believe he had the NAR economic president or something. I can't remember, Dr. Wynn or whomever it was. And he talked specifically about it, that the only person that he would advise not to proceed in this market is somebody who is unstable at work. If they risk getting laid off or whatnot, he goes, but otherwise, and he had some great objection handling in that podcast as well. So if you guys have not watched Brian Buffini's most recent, or listened to his most recent podcast, I would advise you to do so.
So he's really good with what's really going on. I think he's one of the most tuned in people to the market. Anybody else? Buyers or sellers? What do you say? I want to cancel, or I don't think I should go look.
Well, David, we have a situation where we've got buyer telling us they don't want to sign the contract now that was almost to be signed because they're worried that inspectors and other associated people aren't going to be able to get in to do what they need to do within the contract timeline because of everything going on. And I guess one of them was told that by the surveyor said, we're not allowed to go survey properties right now. So we can't do that.
So a survey is, in that deal, is a survey required?
Yeah.
It is. I think you call another surveyor, because what I have found is some people, it's a personal preference, because the real estate, what we do in our transaction has been ruled as an essential business. And so every part of that, appraisal, inspections, all of that is legal for us to do and is protected. The only things off the table of what we do is open houses and realtor broker open houses. Everything else is okay.
So all related parties and peripherals should all be okay for that same reason.
Right. But I have ran into some appraisers and some inspectors that just don't want to do it. And so I think you continue to call and look for one who does, because that has not been a problem yet.
Hey, David, do you have that in writing somewhere where we can send that to anybody who tells us that they can't as proof?
So, and it's hard to see. There was, if you guys haven't been on, there's a really good Kip, what's Kip's name at MLS? Last name? Somebody help me. The guy who's in charge of MLS and in KCR, he did a great video on Facebook about it, but there's some places to look. You can go to some website. Joey put on here Jackson County website, but it's on there, but it's under financial services, and there's something else. But
David, his name is Kip Cooper.
Kip Cooper. Go watch that video. I mean, you can share it, and he's put it out there to share. There's also on Facebook, I think my brother Mark posted it. We have 2 or 3 texts that came from Mayor Lucas himself, where everything that we do in the real estate process, and it got detailed by questions. That's out on our Facebook with somebody's. You can go to mine and look at some of my links, but those things are out there that you can show them that we have been told that we have the authority to do those things and that we are one of those essential industries.
Hey, David.
Yes.
I have a quick question as far as KC coming soon. I know we've been discussing that like at our last sales meeting and everything, and how it's going to kind of shift. We're still going to have it, but we have to do things on the back end, on the RE/MAX side. So my question, I guess, is, are we still good on the listing side to let clients know that we do have that site and it's available and we can still stick that sign in their yard? And do you have any updated information on that?
I do. So beginning April 1, and the Lease Summit office is ahead of the game on this because this all just came out, but beginning April 1, there are no more waivers. So if you're going to do something ahead of the market where you want to use KC coming soon, you have to put it in pre-MLS. Once it goes in pre-MLS, you're good to do everything just like you did before. There's going to be a new listing contract, and on the first page, there's a box to mark if it's pre-MLS and the date it's going to go active, and then you can't show it until that date, but then you can go do your coming soon thing and build up your marketing, your contacts. So it's really going to turn into our favor. It's going to save almost all of us at least $50 a year, if not more, from the waivers that we have to fight and argue. So there will be no more waivers beginning April 1. So KC coming soon actually just got a whole lot better. And then when you do turn it on, so let's say you have someone and they just tell you that's the house and I want to turn it on early. When you turn it on early, call everybody you know, because you got 24 hours before you have to turn it on in MLS. So they're going to give us a day where it's free for all. Not very smart, but that's what they did.
So essentially, as soon as it's on pre-MLS, we could stick it or sign the yard with a kccomingsoon.com.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and I followed up and emailed them just for you all, just to make sure our current listing contracts that we have, that we don't have to like send any kind of amendment in or do any kind of revised anything. And they said, no, we don't. So.
Yeah. Other questions, other things that concern you? Other comments that need to be made for the good of all of us?
David, I think it's really important for the agents to educate their clients on what they're doing to protect themselves and protect other people, instead of saying, hey, the market's good, we still have, you know, this many listings, yada, yada, yada. They need to know that you're taking the precautionary measures, what the world looks like now as far as closing. If they put their house on the market, just remembering those forms that we sent out and just educating them on it. I think Jill Hawkins did a great video last night. I don't know if any of you saw it, just really casually talking about what precautionary measures she's putting into place. So I think that's really important to verbalize that at this point.
I agree, and I think to follow that up with what Jill did, it's up to us to tell the world that we're still open. And we've got to let people know we're still open for business. These transactions are going to happen, whether they sit on the sideline or not. And if they really want to buy a house or get their house sold, I think one of the other talking points for a seller in my mind would be, what if this thing goes on and goes on for months? All of a sudden, for those of us who lived through the previous crash, we know that it was a buyer's market and buyer's market, buyer's market. And when it turned so quickly that the buyers didn't believe us, that it had turned into a seller's advantage. This thing could do the same thing. This could change. If it goes into fall, this could change overnight for your sellers, and all of a sudden they're going to lose 10 or 20,000 in what they would have gotten. The best time for them to sell is right now because the market is still good.
One other thing specifically for business, from your guys' business perspective, is to keep track of all the financing that you're losing, the deals that you're losing, the extra money that you may be spending on virtual tours or whatever if you're paying somebody, because if we do have some kind of tax stimulus that goes through, it's important for us to know how much money that it cost us, right?
Yeah, so we have started, Carrie has something at the front desk. If you have a cancellation, make sure that we get a copy of it. We are going to keep it because I think when it's said and done, there's going to be some damages for things that were canceled because of coronavirus. And if those are out there, I want to make sure that you guys get your share. So anything that you lose or something that cost you from this, I would say from 2 weeks ago, I would say from probably the 8th or 9th on, we need to keep track of, because I know today over the weekend, we lost 7 pending deals where people have backed out. And so that's why I wanted to get on here and let's have conversations about what do we say, how do we handle it? You've got people that are investors that have gotten a little skittish, but you know what? In the Midwest, we have one of the best values there is. That's not going to change. And so they're making more of a permanent decision on something that's very temporary. I can tell you, as being an investor myself, I'm investing long-term, and I've made some terrible buys that over time have turned out profitable because I stuck with it, because real estate is one of the safest, best investments you can make in the long term. So I think it depends. If they're flipping, it may be a little bit different, but if all the buyers are going away, it's a time to buy. We need to think of this as we want to do the opposite of the herd. That's where the money is. And so right now, the opposite of the herd is to not run in fear, not behave like that, behave differently. This is a chance to show yourself as a leader with your clients and a positive influence in their life, and to really get some respect because of how you treat them. But keep track of all those things, and if you make a list, and make sure that we have it, so because we'll turn it all in as a big number. What else? There are several people I've talked to in the last day or two that I've said, hey, make sure that we bring this up or that up. Other things that we're facing right now. I can tell you we will be open So I'll be here. There'll be others here. We have taken measures at the office, and I'm just going to share this. We have taken measures at the office where pretty much most of your staff has taken either a total reduction in pay or a reduction in hours or pay to be here as there's less business, so that we have the support for you guys. So we are all taking it on the chin, because we're going to be here when it's over, and we want you guys to be here when it's over. The best thing that you can do to help us at the office is go find a contract somewhere. That's what we need. We need to keep this thing. It's still going. Let's keep it going as long and as possible as we can, and really push at that. But if it's kind of like, if you believe it's doom and gloom, it is. And if you believe business is good, it is. It's kind of like what Henry Ford said: if you think you can or can't, you're right. And if you're going to sit at home and do nothing, I know what happens to your business. And you can sit at home and make nothing but relationship calls. And I also know what's going to happen with your business. If it doesn't happen now, in 60 or 90 days, it's going to go through the roof. But if you do nothing and you pull in and you sit home and sulk, I know what happens. You know, and the other piece, you're probably going to have to work harder for it. Those of us who lived through the crash, I can't tell you how much time I spent. And there was a period of time there where 70% of our closings were foreclosures. And the foreclosures back then had a minimum commission or maximum commission, $1,000. I would spend 40 hours for my $1,000. But what's my alternative? Zero. So it may get tougher. We're going to get rid of a lot of realtors who shouldn't be in the business. And right now, if you're not increasing your skill level and those things that I mentioned with all the video, if you're not out there learning and doing it, you're going to get left in the dust. This is a time where you've got to step up. And they don't have to be perfect. If you guys watched my video last night, I said, what did I say? I said sand sanitizer instead of hand sanitizer. But you know what? How many people laughed at that besides me? I mean, I laughed right on the screen. And thank goodness I caught it. Video is not perfect because we're not. It actually was pretty funny. And everybody got to laugh. And I heard that Sean Lesney really made fun of me last night playing pool. Sean? He's not going to own up.
Oh, no, I was muted. I was talking. Of course, Sean's going to talk about pool. He's a pool shark. Don't let him invite you over, guys.
What else?
Just remember that we have sent out a lot of documents that you should be using. Documents to protect your sellers, documents to protect your business, documents to remind your clients that we are taking all the precautions that we can. So those documents are there. I just found a great infographic today that I'll share with all of you that talks about virtual buying and different things that you can do. In the world today we are all blessed to have phones, to have cameras, to have, I know Jeff Duncan was talking about literally setting up a camera in the closing room and then being outside of the closing room. So we're taking these precautions, but we still want you guys to be able to take care of your clients and yourself as well. So if you don't know where those documents are, or say you can't find them, reach out to one of the staff members and we will get them to you ASAP. And then as far as I know for myself, I can Zoom any of you guys if you want to, if you've got some downtime and want to work on websites, social media, any of those things that you always say you're too busy for, we can set up Zoom meetings so we can constantly be working on our business if we're not out on the streets.
Yeah, I think sometimes I used to love snow days when nobody would come in and everybody would stay home, because then I would sit down and work on my systems and processes and really had time to work on things to improve myself that can go on and on and on. This is a chance for you not only to reach out because people are home and answering the phone, but this is a chance for you to dial into your processes and systems and build something that will last for a long time.
I kid you not, I had the best time video texting my clients today. A couple of them even called me back and I said some funny stuff, you know, that's just what I do. And they called me back and we had like a really good conversation. Now, these are people that have been laid off, so they can't do anything right now, but I know I got them.
Yeah. No, and we'll have training events. So that is not going to stop, because we're going to get better at doing some things like this ourselves. And so this is opportunity. This is opportunity. This is a chance for us to be different than everybody else.
Well, I think if anybody comes across anything, a podcast, an article, or something that you've utilized to personally develop yourself throughout all of this, share that in the private Facebook group. That way other people can benefit from that resource as well. Because I think if we do get caught up in what society is throwing at us and not taking care of ourselves, that, it's like everybody else, eventually everybody's believing all of the hype. So share that stuff that you're listening to and reading. I think that's something good to think about.
No, and I think the one thing that I hate about the social distancing is when we're together with people who are like-minded, we have that influence on each other. And when we get separated, it gets really easy for the wrong things to get in our heads. And the people that we're around can be negative, and it has an effect on us. And we've got to really be careful with that. So tune in. Somebody on there have an accountability partner. Tune in to somebody so that we can help each other through this. Whether we do this, and I'm willing to do this once a week, where we can just get out here and air it out, or whatever you guys want to do. I love the feedback. It's after last week, I've been trying to really keep everybody abreast of what's going on. And I send the videos, and I have to tell you that there was some of you guys that reached out to me, and you have no idea what that meant to get some support, because this is hard for all of us, and I feel responsible for everybody, and it can wear everybody down. And so it takes all of us. I need you as much as you need me, and that's what makes this thing work, is that we're better together than we are apart. I miss seeing everybody like I normally do, and because we can help each other.
A good thing to share with clients is the Market Watch.
Where do you
people hear me?
The Market Watch?
Yeah, on the MLS homepage, like just today alone, 128 homes have gone under contract and 60 new listings have hit the market. And it's something to share with our clients to let them know it's still moving. It's a moving target, and that, when you can give them stats, it's a little bit more believable.
Absolutely. And so one of the things that I'm about, prove it, print it, take a picture of it, something, so you've got the proof. Take it for the week. I know last Friday, when all the rumors were going around that we were going to get this lockdown that we got Saturday night, Friday, 170 listings went on the market.
Yeah, just for the week alone, we've had 758 new listings in the last 7 days, and we've had over almost 900 contracts just in the last 7 days.
So did we get our share? And so that's why we can't believe. I'm one, and shut the TV off, shut some of those social media sites you go to off, because they're full of stuff that's not good for your head. I'm on my second book I'm gonna have read within 2 weeks, because there's nothing for me to watch that's not junk, so I've turned to reading. And it's been really good for me. And the one I'm reading now is The Promise to the One, which is a promise to myself of things that I've said to myself and I haven't kept. And it's really good for me right now to improve myself. And that's what I'm reading. But there's all kinds of things you can do to help yourself. There's webinars out there that you can use to help yourself. You should be following Brian Buffini's podcast, and there's others that are out there. Success.com has a lot of positive stuff. Jim Rohn, John Maxwell, there's so much good. But if we plug into the wrong thing, it hurts. It's going to show up. Anything else?
Use those seller report summaries that you, on a listing, make sure you have it set up so that your sellers in Lee Street are getting the seller report summary, so they know what all is going active in their neighborhood, what's had a price change, what's gone under pending, so they know there's still stuff happening in their market and in their neighborhood.
Absolutely. Tina also asked about the new amendments and the riders. Right now, they're not required. They would be best practice, and I think it's a protection for you and the other agent. So I would advise you to do that. I would also advise you all the paperwork, like I think Shayla or somebody said before, take those to your clients so that they know what's going on. Have the hand sanitizer with you. Show good practice so people see it. Be concerned about them and their health. Keep your distances. Do all those things that you should. But those amendments and those papers, don't make it a deal. Don't make it so hard getting that stuff signed that you lose a deal. Sometimes we can go too far with some of those. I know Mark had one they didn't want to sign. Don't make them sign it. If they'll go ahead and do the listing or the buyer's agency, don't make them do it. But it's just a very good suggestion for protection. Anything, other thoughts? Does anybody have any toilet paper? I went to Walmart Saturday. When the news came that we were going to kind of have this lockdown, I went to Walmart. There was no toilet paper, but they were putting out a cleaning supply, but I can only take one, so I took one. They had bread, I can only take one, so I took one. They had milk, I can only take one, so I took one. It was pretty funny, the rationing that was going on. But the shelves were starting to see a little bit more stuff in them. But I think our supply chain is good, and that's not something to be feared. I think in time you'll see it catch up. So a couple reminders. The office hours will be 9 to 4. So if you start calling after that, you're going to get the answering machine. You'll see some things that we'll do differently. It's intentional. We're going to get more to where we can do more on our feet and more from our phones and more mobile than we've ever been before. And we're all going to have to do this. One of the best things you can do for the office and for your staff, pay your bill, because everything, when RE/MAX sends me the bill, I pay it because I have a 20% penalty when I don't. So when you delay, when you get your bill and you don't pay it by the 1st, I have to pay it by the 5th. It's all on me. That money will be used. I have to pay that money. And if I'm going to keep staff, I have to get those paid. So please don't drag on that. I need that to keep us up and keep us going, because I don't want to lose a staff person because their bills aren't paid. So everybody has to do their part during this time. And I can tell you just on my part that I started work in March. I am taking no pay. I'm totally working for free for you guys from this time forward till it's over. And that hurts. But I feel in my heart that's what I have to do, and that's how committed I am to seeing us through this whole thing. Anything else? Give staff some feedback if you want to do this. We can probably keep them to 30 minutes. This one's longer than maybe it need to be, but I really want to talk to everybody about these things. Any questions, please ask, and we'll handle them. Jason and Gary are still too close together in the car.
So I take an office, the phones, or those just get transferred to us?
Yeah, they'll go straight to your cell phone, Jason, which is much quicker. And that won't happen overnight. That's going to be a process. Oh, one other thing. I can really cut some expense too. If I had some volunteers to help clean the office, we spend like $750, $800 a month with cleaning that we could save, that I could maybe keep going longer. If there would anybody want to volunteer with that or any part of that, please let me or Shayla know. That's just another bill that we can remove for a little while, and that would just help the whole situation. I am taking every unnecessary expense and removing it until we're through this. If not, guys, have a great evening. And we will see those of you, if you can work from home, that's great, work from home. But I'm an office guy, I focus better. So the offices will both be staffed. They'll have to take me to jail. So we'll be here. See you guys.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, David.
Bye, everyone. Stay safe.